Welcome to the Reparenting Daily podcast. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into reparenting, exploring tools and resources to help us through our journey. The podcast is divided into 3 sections. First is a reading. Second is a discussion of the reading, followed by a journal prompt. And the last section is a peaceful meditation for closing. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you again for being here for another day of reparenting. I appreciate you taking the time. Dedicate to yourself. Today we are reading from the ACA's World Service Organization Daily Meditation. This is from August 6th, which is actually the day that I'm recording this. And it's entitled Therapy. A good therapist should ask you more about trauma and abuse, including sexual abuse. If there are indicators of family history, acting out behavior, records, or other discernible factors. Big Red Book, page 462. Some of us have been in therapy with people who mirrored our abusive parents. They told us that our childhood sexual abuse was no big deal because what happened to children at a young age doesn't really affect them. We sometimes even allow them to sexually abuse us in the course of therapy. We realize that there are a lot of good therapists out there, but not all of them are safe. We do not let this stop us from getting the right help. We learn how to set boundaries with the people who work for us, including those who seem like they are in a position of authority over us. We stop trying to please others. We allow ourselves the space to say what we need. But we check first to see if it's safe to talk. When a therapist isn't working for us, we allow ourselves to explore other options. When we stop going back to poisoned wells, we are reparenting ourselves with love. We learn to take the power back, the power that was stolen from us in childhood. We trust this instinct because we have created safe boundaries in which to allow them to be revealed. On this day, I will ask many questions as I need to, no matter what the situation. If I'm not satisfied with the answers, I will explore other options. Thank you, and that's the reading for today. Welcome back. Yes, this reading is on therapy, choosing the right therapist. How do you know if your therapist is the right therapist? If you have one at the moment, if you are fortunate enough to have a therapist, I should say, because it is quite expensive, and especially in the US, many insurances do not cover it. And even if you are in a more socialist country such as Canada or somewhere in Europe where mental health services are covered in your insurance, something that many people wouldn't realize is that actually the public services are often not of the best quality. That's not to say that they are useless. It's definitely better than nothing that you would receive if you can't afford it. But again, not all therapists are safe. Not all therapists are good. Not all therapists know what they're talking about. And so when choosing a therapist, it's important to know, for example, what kind of education has someone had? Do they have actual a proper education, a master's, a PhD? Do they have certifications in the location where you are and in other locations? Another question you might ask is how much experience do they have? How many years have they been working? A very important question to ask that many people forget is, are they working with their own therapist? A therapist who is not also actually in therapy at the same time as they're giving you therapy, it leaves room for the possibility for projection and transference. You can check those out to understand those concepts, but I won't go into it too much this morning. The next thing you would like to know is their personal experience. I mean, you cannot ask their entire life story, but try to understand where you overlap, your ethnicity, your this country where you were born in, your native language, your life experiences and trauma. If you are working with someone who has never experienced a CPTSD situation, for example, it's very difficult for someone who is relatively untraumatized compared to the normal distribution on the population who is in that 90% of least traumatized people. It's very difficult for them to actually reach down to empathize and fully understand with someone who is deep, deep in trauma. These are all things that are important to keep in mind as you search for a therapist, because it's expensive. It's a huge investment, especially over time. And it's a shame to waste so much money on someone who really is not in a position to help you. Because we grew up not being heard, not being validated, not being seen, some of us might doubt our experiences and end up stuck in these situations. And so for that case, I recommend dating other psychologists even while you're seeing your own psychologist, or finding some other support community or someone else who is aware of your self-growth work and this therapy work, where you can, share some concerns and thoughts about them, to kind of getting an outside perspective as well, in case you're getting stuck in that pattern of dysfunction, which we carry over into many relationships, including possibly a therapeutic relationship. So remember that you have your power. At the end of this reading, it says, we learn to take the power back, the power that was stolen from us in childhood. We trust our instincts because we have created safe boundaries in which to allow them to be revealed. Today, reflect on your experiences with therapy, if you've had a therapist. How do you feel about your therapist? Have you reflected much on your relationship? Have you looked for or identified any red flags in them? And how do you think those have corresponded to the benefit of your therapy? Second, if you're not in therapy or have never had therapy, how aware are you of all the questions you need to ask before finding the right therapist? Because I didn't know any of these, because I did not have therapy until I was 23 in university for the first time. And I had no idea still then about all of these questions. Finding a therapist is challenging, but with patience and diligence and persistence and trying new people, you can find the right one that will really help you. There are a lot of excellent therapists out there. So as always, take care of yourself and be well. And now, let us move on to the final section, the meditation. This is an unguided meditation. I will simply provide some music and you can take some time to relax. Please feel free to choose a location and a place where you feel safe and where you can be undisturbed for the next 10 minutes. You can choose to be sitting down, standing, as you like, wherever you are most comfortable. Thank you for being here and enjoy the meditation.